to not realizing that this is the biggest story unfolding before their eyes.
Surrounded by friggin' UFOs.
Of a UFO battle in orbit around Earth.
I believe that's 504.
Alright, firstly, thanks to Matt from Curious Dimension for featuring us on your channel and making this video. He's given me some questions about the UFO phenomenon as a whole, and as well my YouTube channel. So let's get to it. How do I stay updated on the latest UFO developments? Well, that is a good question, and probably a couple names answer that, which is Jeremy Corbell, Ross Coulthart, Dr. Stephen Greer, and Bryce Zabel. They're right on top of the subject. There's a couple more as well that I can't think off the top of my head, but they have the latest, the best insights into the Department of Defense and CIA, FBI, geospatial intelligence agencies. They have the latest news coming out. You just have to watch the Weaponized podcast and keep up to date. And the amount of knowledge I've learned on the subject due to watching every Weaponized podcast will blow your mind. And that's why I've got such respect for guys like Jeremy Corbell and Ross Coulthart, and George Knapp, the godfather of the UFO subject, because imagine the ridicule and the harm through social media and everything on their persona when they're just trying to expose the truth. That's probably something that bothers me the most about the UFO subject, is that there's such arrogance towards it when it's such a more realistic possibility than any religions, any hypothesis about human history. The evidence is there. The evidence is all through our history, ancient history, and here today on video, but it's still the most ridiculed subject. So what is my opinion on the extraterrestrial hypothesis versus what other explanations of what UFOs are? Really, my whole hypothesis about the subject is that I'm open-minded. No one really knows what the phenomenon is. That's why it's the biggest question in human history. It's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to human history, and it's been here all along. Okay, that is a good question. How do you navigate UFO skepticism? Well, it's everywhere, and it's been inbuilt into the human race in mainstream pop culture for the last 80 years. It's even admitted by the CIA and in released top secret documents that there's been a massive anti-disclosure movement that they've been pushing on the public for years and years, and it works. You can't even mention the subject to 90% of the population, but most of the population believe in things like religion, that there's a guy living in the clouds, even though we fly through clouds every day in planes. And in my opinion, what role should the public play in the UFO subject in a positive way? I don't think there's any role that I think they should play. It's just a genuine fact that the UFO phenomenon is real. The UFO phenomenon will eventually, over the evolution of human beings in the next 100, next 200, next 300 years, just become a genuine fact. Has specifically sparked my interest in the UFO subject the most, probably Roswell, like everyone else, but particularly the Westrall Melbourne UFO case that happened back in 1966, and another case off Queensland with a pilot that had interference from an unknown object that was recorded. And then after the 7 News Spotlight documentary about UFOs came out, I was hooked. Okay, are there any particular researchers or documentary series or books that gain my interest? And yes, there definitely are. This is one of the books, American Cosmic. It's insane. It goes into religion and the connection between religious documents and the UFO phenomena. On top of that, I've got a couple documentaries that are a must-watch, which is Ancient Apocalypse by Graham Hancock, BAM, which is insane, goes through megaliths and their connection to extraterrestrials or an ancient civilization. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind by Dr. Stephen Greer, blew my mind. Area 51 with Bob Lazar and the Bob Lazar documentary done by Jeremy Corbell. Australian Skies, that again blew my mind because it was in my own backyard. and it was done by an Australian documentary producer that was a complete skeptic, had no interest in the UFO subject at all, did not believe it one bit, and he actually did a 2-part series and then a 3rd part with the Min Min lights, another UFO phenomena out in the desert. And all 3 of them are absolutely unbelievable. I'd recommend to watch them. How do I differentiate between credible UFO reports and those that may be hoaxes or misidentifications? Well, basically, I just watch the mainstream media make up stupid excuses for obvious UFO sightings, such as balloons. And it's also pretty obvious when you come across a UFO hoax. You can see it in the video usually. It's pretty damn obvious, and it's usually pretty pathetic. If you have a general level of intelligence, you can usually tell that it's a hoax. But when do I think it's a real identification of a anomalous object in the sky, or obviously a UFO, unidentified flying object? Usually when there's a lot of pushback, the departments of defense usually rat themselves out because they're so hesitant towards it, and they pay off mainstream media to basically ridicule it, anyone involved in it, discredit them. And like George Knapp says, when you're close to the target, the more pushback there is. And that's exactly what's happening. Look at David Grush. He's obviously telling the truth, and look what they've tried to do to him. And that is a interesting question about technology to do with the UFO subject and our evolution, and will it play part in uncovering the UFO phenomenon? And I don't know, because the last 200 years of our industrial evolution has been closed to fossil fuels, electricity, oil, all these gas, all these military industrial complex controlled technologies. And basically we're so far behind, even though we think that we're extremely evolved in the last 100 years technologically, we aren't. There's been so many other discoveries like zero-point energy, anti-gravitic energy, magnetic energy. I'm not a scientist. There's been hundreds of different discoveries, and they've all been shut down. Why? Because the UFO subject's been hidden because of the control of the military industrial complex that basically controls all industrial areas and controls the entire economy. So I don't know, will the military industrial complex fall? I don't really think so. Why do you think governments lie to us constantly? Why do you think governments know what's already happening on the stock market before it happens? It's all about control. That's what I really think it's all about. So if you really ask me to be frank, no, I don't think so. I think technology will keep being controlled by these sectors and military contractors, and we won't be able to get our technology to a point to see further, or they'll only let us see what they want us to see. Look at NASA. They're complete liars. If you don't think NASA are liars, you've got to have your eyes painted on. I just want to say thanks to Matt from Curious Dimension for doing this questionnaire with me, and please watch his content, subscribe, share all of our footage and our content, because we're trying to get the truth out. And also check us out on Instagram, AussieUFOnews, and our YouTube as well. Thanks for having me, Matt.